Hello, welcome to another boxing predictions video. This is Chris Eubank vs Arthur Abraham. So yesterday, Chris Eubank scheduled his next fight, which he will be defending his IBO Super-Middleweight title belt. This is of course Arthur Abraham, and it's scheduled to they're scheduled to face off next month on July 15th. The people before this fight being made, a lot of speculation a lot of feedback on Chris Eubank's previous opponents. And he did come in for a lot of criticism, like Nick Backwell, and I think the guy he put against us was called Ronald Quiglin something. Let me just double check that quickly. Ronald Quiglin. Yeah, if that's how you say his name. If it's wrong, I apologise. I'm not the best at saying names, but and that's when he won the IBO belt, and a lot of speculation, or not speculation, more criticism for that fight was because it was on ITV box office and that pay-per-view, and it was Chris Eubank was talking like it was a really big, like significant fight, which it wasn't really, because Chris Eubank talks quite a lot and nothing really gets done at this current moment. His biggest win, probably at the minute, is probably his last fight. Of course, if he beats Abraham, then of course it'll be the biggest fight, because Arthur Abraham, even though he's 37 years old now, I do believe, he's a big name, or used to be a big name in the middleweight, super middleweight divisions. Arthur Abraham himself is a former IBF and former WBO super middleweight and middleweight world title holder. I think he held the belt at middleweight from 2005 to 2009, I think, and then he went into the Super 6 boxing tournament and he did okay, and I think one of his fights got disqualified. I think he went against Andre Durrell, and he got disqualified for hitting after the fight went down. I know he lost to Aldridge Ward as well. I'm not sure who he fought before that. It might have been, I think it was Alan Green, but I'm not sure if Alan Green was there, because I think it was Jermaine Taylor. That was the first fight he fought was against Jermaine Taylor, and knocked him out in the 12th round. See, back then Abraham was obviously a lot younger, a lot more active, and not saying he isn't now, but a lot more fresher, and he was probably one of the more dangerous fighters coming into that tournament. I know it's a long time ago now, 6 years ago now, a long time ago, but since then he has gone up to another division, and he has been the WBO super middleweight champion a couple of times. And he went against a fighter called Robert something. I'm really bad with names. And they've had, I think, 4 fights. Abraham winning 3, losing 1. I think that's correct. And since then, his last fight he did lose quite comfortably. So now, obviously, he's got I guess if you want to call it a world title match. The IBO belt, of course, isn't seen as one of the major titles, because you've got the WA, WC, IBF. They're sort of, and WO sort of the more significant world organisations. IBO has never really been seen as a major, more of a minor organisation. But the fight itself, if Eubank can go in there and I know it says quite a lot, but the right game plan and throws enough punches to get through the tough guard of Abraham, I think he'll win quite comfortably, because age is a big factor. I think, if I remember correctly, Eubank is 26 years old. I think could be 27 or 28, but Arthur Abraham is 37, as I mentioned earlier, and if that is correct, there's a big age gap. And I know Abraham is probably the tougher puncher by a long stretch. I know Eubank, I watch him on Instagram and YouTube and listen to what he's saying, and he is a good fighter, and he's in good physical condition all the time and stuff, and he's tough, and his power is, I think, quite questionable, because he says he can knock people out and do this and that, but when I watch him fight, his power isn't as explosive as he says it is, which is, of course you want to believe in yourself, but I don't think his power is what he says he is. Abraham in that category wins it, but in the majority of the other categories he does lose due to age. Maybe just age is a big factor in this fight, but if Abraham wins, of course, there's another name on his record. Of course, he's going into the later stages of his career now. If he did lose his fight, I could probably see him retiring, only because he's quite old and he's had a lot of fights in his career, a lot of tough sort of wars. He's been two-time world champion, and so gone against some pretty good opponents, like I said before, Andre Ward, to name a few. That's a pretty good resume on his record. If Eubank loses, Of course, people are going to say that he can't beat the likes of a faded Arthur Abraham, but if he goes out there and does a good performance and loses, he might get good credit, because taking on someone like this in comparison to his previous opponents is a good step up. It's probably a bit too, not late now, it's probably the wrong way of doing it. Maybe if you fought Abraham a few years ago, maybe had the odd sort of tune-up fight for another big fight, say if he had a gap or something, then maybe I can understand that. But the way he lost to Billy Joe Saunders back in 2014, since then it's called out Golovkin, James DeGale, George Groves, I think, which sometimes seems a bit silly, like to call out certain people when you haven't really got sort of a world title. Well, I know he technically has now, but like sometimes when you call out people, I think you have to sort of bring stuff to the table. I know his name is big because of his dad and stuff, but it's not as big as he wants to be. So if he could win this fight, maybe that might be leverage because he's beating someone with a name on his record. But I do think he needs to fight the likes of Arthur Abraham, people with a bit more recognition, a bit more toughness about him. Because if he can beat him and maybe the likes of other fighters who've got recognition, but then he can fight the likes of James DeGale, George Groves, Golovkin, if that fight can ever get made. So yeah, write in the comments down below if what you think about the fight. I'll definitely watch it next month. It'll be an entertaining fight. Of course, RTV Box Office is still like one of the newer platforms that have just been brought out. I think Carl Frampton fought on there a couple of times previously before he went back onto Sky Sports, I think, or Sky Box Office. The platform itself is quite new, as I said, so it might be time before it pick up steam and recognition. But the fight itself is a good fight, and I'm glad Eubank is actually doing a step up. Yeah, it might be a faded step up fight, but he's still fighting someone with a name and the experience, and it's still a dangerous fight because Arthur Abraham can still punch. So I hope you enjoyed this fight preview. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.